Ancient history is packed with eerie discoveries, but this one is on a whole other level. Deep inside a long-sealed Mayan tomb, archaeologists uncovered paintings that hint at something truly unsettling. Human sacrifices made to a being that isn't even human. The details are beyond chilling. Experts are scrambling to piece it all together, and trust me, this changes everything we thought we knew. So, let's get into it. You know how some stories just sit there in the jungle for centuries, waiting for someone to notice? That's exactly what happened with the Bonampak murals. Tucked away in Chiapas, Mexico, these masterpieces were painted back in 790 CE, but the world didn't know about them until a photographer named Giles Healy stumbled onto them in 1946. Well, stumbled isn't quite right. He had help from the Lacandan Maya, who already knew the ruins like the back of their hands. When Healy snapped those first photos, he didn't just capture some old wall paintings. He shook the entire understanding of Maya civilization. Up until then, many people believed the Maya were peaceful astronomers and time-obsessed calendar makers. It turns out that they were also fierce warriors with rich court lives and some seriously detailed rituals. These murals aren't just random splashes of color. They live on the walls of Structure 1, also called the Temple of the Murals, and stretch across 3 rooms. The first room is practically a royal announcement. Nobles, musicians, and the presentation of an heir, all painted with a sense of ceremony and flair. Then, just a few steps away, things get really intense. The second room dives into battle scenes and the grim display of captives. And the third, that's where they celebrate the victory with dances and ceremonies that feel almost alive on the walls. The artistry is no joke. The vibrant colors, the sense of movement, the use of shading and perspective, these weren't amateur sketches. Maya artists knew exactly what they were doing. Beyond the beauty, the murals pack a punch with what they show. Human sacrifice, bloodletting rituals, elegant clothing, and detailed weaponry. It's like a painted documentary that doesn't hold anything back. What really makes this a goldmine for historians? The glyphs. Yep. The Maya left receipts, names, dates, everything. For example, that battle in room 2, it's pinned down to August 2nd, 792 CE. Meanwhile, halfway across the globe in Australia's Kimberley region, another form of storytelling was unfolding, this time in the form of Wandjina rock art. The indigenous Mwanje people, comprising the Warora, Ngarinyan, and Wunumbal language groups, have been painting these iconic, cloud-like figures for around 4,000 years. So, what's the big deal with these paintings? Well, they depict the Wandjina spirits. These are not your average mythical beings. They're considered celestial creators, rainmakers, and fertility boosters, all rolled into one. The first time a European laid eyes on these was way back in 1838. That was when explorer George Gray stumbled into a cave and found himself face to face with a huge figure painted right on the ceiling, over 10 feet long. This figure was decked out in a red outfit with head wraps that only showed the eyes. It must have been quite the sight. Now let's talk about what makes the Wandjina figures stand out. These aren't your run-of-the-mill cave scribbles. They are characterized by large, mouthless faces, framed by halo-like headdresses, with eyes that feel like they're staring right into your soul. The absence of mouths. It's said that the Wandjina are so powerful, they don't need to speak. Their mere thoughts can control the weather. Thank you very much. And those halo headpieces, they're not just for show. They symbolize thunderstorms, tying back to their roles as rain bringers and fertility enhancers. But here's where it gets really interesting. This rock art is more than just a static gallery of ancient beliefs. It's a living tradition. For thousands of years, indigenous custodians have been actively retouching these paintings. But don't think of it as mere touch-ups. This repainting is a sacred ritual, a renewal of the pact between the Wandjina and their people, ensuring the land remains fertile and the community thrives. It's a profound reminder that some connections between the past and the present are not only maintained, but celebrated with every careful stroke of paint. Now, fast forward a bit in time, and over to a different part of the world, Egypt. In 1820, this Greek explorer Giovanni d'Atanasi, quite the adventurer, stumbled upon a little something that would make art curators and history buffs lose their minds. A tomb belonging to Nebamun. Now, Nebamun wasn't your everyday Egyptian. He was a scribe and grain counter with some serious job perks, considering he worked at the Temple of Amun in what we now call Luxor. Nebamun's final resting place was on the scenic west bank of the Nile in the Theban necropolis. But let me tell you, it wasn't just any dusty old tomb. The walls inside were basically an ancient Egyptian version of Instagram, showcasing vibrant frescoes of Nebamun doing everything from hunting birds in the marshes to living it up at feasts with dancers and musicians. Through these images, Nebamun was basically saying, "Look at me, having a blast for eternity." But here's where it gets a bit controversial. Dathanasi, in what can only be described as a heist driven by enthusiasm for preservation or profit, depending on how you look at it, decided these artworks were too good to stay buried. With tools in hand, knives, saws, you name it, he removed several paintings from the tomb walls. These were then sold to Henry Salt, the British consul general in Egypt at the time, who didn't waste any time flipping them to the British Museum in 1821. And wouldn't you know it, Dathanasi never documented the exact location of this artistic gold mine. The man took that secret to his grave when he passed away in 1854, leaving the tomb's location as one of history's tantalizing mysteries. Now, these paintings are a big deal. Displayed proudly in the British Museum, they've been giving visitors a peek into ancient Egypt's daily life and culture since a special gallery opened in 2009 after some major TLC was given to these masterpieces. It's an art lover's dream to see Nebamun's world so vividly captured, offering a snapshot of an era long gone, but clearly not forgotten. Not too far in narrative distance and just a few centuries away in history, Queen Nefertari's tomb tells a tale of rediscovery that captures the imagination just as vividly. Italian archaeologist Ernesto Schiaparelli unearthed this tomb in 1904 in Egypt's Valley of the Queens. It had dodged the world's eyes for over 3,000 years. Known as QV66, this site was no less than a treasure trove, revealing the final resting place of Nefertari, the revered great royal wife of Pharaoh Ramesses II. When Schiaparelli's team entered the burial site, it was clear the place had been raided long ago. Most of the treasures were gone, but not everything. Among the remains, they found fragments of her pink granite sarcophagus, a few Shabti figurines, a pair of palm leaf sandals. Yes, even ancient queens had fashion flair, and 2 mummified legs believed to be hers. All of these are now housed in the Egyptian Museum in Turin for those interested in a real-world history detour. But here's where it gets jaw-dropping. The wall paintings. Spanning a massive 520 square meters, these vibrant artworks were incredibly well preserved. These images tell the story of Nefertari's journey through the afterlife, playing the game of Senet, which symbolizes her transition to eternity and being guided by the deities Isis and Hathor. Every inch of the walls screams elegance, divine guidance, and Egyptian artistic brilliance. This discovery not only highlighted how much effort went into a queen's eternal resting place, but also gave scholars rare insight into what ancient Egyptians believed about the afterlife. Schiaparelli's thorough documentation set a gold standard for future digs. Of course, the tomb suffered some wear and tear over time, and nature and tourism didn't always mix well. However, in 1986, the Getty Conservation Institute teamed up with the Egyptian Antiquities Organization to save the tomb. After years of meticulous work, the restoration wrapped up in 1992, securing the legacy of Queen Nefertari's final home. Just a short journey away, though centuries back in time, is the equally captivating Tomb of Mena, located in the Theban necropolis on the west bank of the Nile, right across from modern-day Luxor. This resting place of Mena, a notable 18th dynasty scribe, gives us a sneak peek into the life of an overseer of fields of Amun and overseer of fields of the Lord of the Two Lands, likely under the rulers Thutmose IV and Amenhotep III. Between 1914 and 1916, archaeologists Robert Mond and Ernest Mackay dusted off ages to reveal a treasure trove in the form of an inverted T-shaped chapel. Inside, the vibrant wall paintings breathe life into Mena's daily grind and high standards demanding duties. The artistry on these walls. It's like a high-definition window into the past, showcasing the hustle and bustle of agricultural life. One vivid scene has Mena overseeing field measurements. Scribes jot down the details while laborers are knee-deep in harvest. It's a brilliant depiction of Egypt's economic backbone during its heyday. Another scene turns a bit more adventurous, with Mena hunting in the marshes, flinging a throw stick at birds, and spearing fish from a skiff made of papyrus. These images aren't just art, they're symbols of rebirth and the life-giving power of the Nile, detailed with an environmentalist's eye for flora and fauna. Despite its ancient charm, TT69 wasn't immune to the wear and tear of time. Enter the heroes from the American Research Center in Egypt, with Dr. Melinda Hartwig from Georgia State University at the helm from 2007 to 2009. Their mission: to stop the hands of time with some cutting-edge preservation tactics. Using everything from high-res digital imaging to spectroscopic wizardry, they not only saved the day, but also gave us deeper insights into the old masters' painting methods. Their work culminated in a publication that's pretty much the Bible on Mena's chapel, the Tomb Chapel of Mena, TT69, the art, culture, and science of painting in an Egyptian tomb. Just up the river and a few dynasties in the timeline, the tomb of Rekhmir awaits as TT100. Nestled in the Theban necropolis, this final resting place of Rekhmir, who juggled hats as both the governor of Thebes and vizier during the shiny days of pharaohs Thutmose III and Amenhotep II, is like a time capsule from Egypt's 18th dynasty. And let me tell you, it's not just any old tomb, it's a treasure trove that lets us peek into the administrative hustle, the social buzz, and the religious vibe of that era. First discovered by Scottish traveler Robert Hay in 1832, who sketched some of its vibrant wall paintings, the tomb later saw a parade of explorers like George Alexander Hoskins and John Gardner Wilkinson, who each added bits and pieces to our understanding of its art and inscriptions. But it wasn't until the early 20th century that things really got cooking. In 1906, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York stepped in, sending Norman Degaris Davies and his wife, Nina, to document the tomb's decorations thoroughly. Their labor of love stretched all the way to 1940 and gave us the 1944 treasure trove, the Tomb of Rekhmire at Thebes. This T-shaped architectural wonder includes a broad hall and a long corridor that stretches up to a lofty 8 meters at its end. The walls, they're a historian's dream, covered in intricate paintings and hieroglyphics that have surprisingly stood the test of time. Now, these aren't just any old wall decorations. They're historical snapshots, capturing scenes like Rekhmir's installment as vizier, the hustle and bustle of tax collection, and the exotic tributes from far-off lands like Punt, Keftiu, Crete, Nubia, and Syria. These vibrant scenes not only show off Egypt's diplomatic swagger, but also give us a front-row seat to the daily grind of craftsmen and the lavish preparations for offerings. One standout scene really ties into global lore. It shows the grueling work of foreign laborers, making bricks, echoing the tales from the biblical book of Exodus. This visual feast offers a real, gritty look at the labor practices back then, from mixing clay to the heavy lifting of brick transportation. But that's not all. The tomb also houses the duties of the vizier, an autobiographical inscription that serves up the juiciest details on what it meant to be a vizier in ancient Egypt. It's like a crash course in ancient Egyptian administration, right down to the ethical guidelines they followed. Despite taking a few hits over the centuries, including a period of iconoclasm where faces were scratched out and a stint as a makeshift dwelling and stable, the tomb's importance has been carefully preserved thanks to those meticulous 20th century documents. Stepping over to another fascinating spot, the tomb of Pashedu in the Deir el-Medina necropolis holds its own allure. As a servant in the place of truth, Pashedu had the crucial job of working on the royal tombs during the 19th dynasty, serving under pharaohs like Seti I and Ramesses II. Now, let's rewind to 1834. That's when some Egyptian soldiers, probably hoping for a quick buck, stumbled upon TT3 during a not-so-official dig. Lucky for history, Scottish traveler and artist Robert Hay was hanging around Luxor at the time. Hay didn't waste a moment when word got out about the discovery. He dove in and began sketching the wall paintings and inscriptions, preserving a slice of ancient artistry just in the nick of time. Despite its simple architectural bones, an antechamber, and a corridor leading to the burial chamber, TT3 is a feast for the eyes. The walls are a riot of colors, with paintings so well preserved you'd think Pashedu had just put down his brush. Decked out with scenes from the Book of the Dead against a backdrop of yellow ochre, the tomb's art screams high status and skill. One of the standout murals shows Pashedu kneeling under a dom palm tree and gulping down water from a pool. This isn't just any refreshment break, it's a scene from chapter 62 of the Book of the Dead, symbolizing everlasting access to H2O in the afterlife. The hieroglyphs around him make it clear this water isn't just good, it's divine protection. And talk about a family affair, another painting features the god Ta-Sokar Osiris, looking majestic as a falcon with wings spread wide, flanked by Pashedu's sons, Mena and Kaha. They're caught in a moment of reverence, hands raised in worship, a scene that spells out the family's devotion and the deity's watchful eye over their beloved dad. Not to be outdone, the corridor walls boast giant depictions of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of mummification, lounging regally atop a shrine. It's like having the ultimate security system, ancient Egyptian style, with Anubis in charge of keeping the tomb safe. As for the ceiling in the burial chamber, it's a who's who of Egyptian deities, with Thoth, Hathor, Re-Harakti, and Neith all making an appearance in a celestial parade. These gods aren't just there for decoration, they're part of a divine escort, ensuring Pashedu's smooth sail through the underworld. Now, from the sandy stretches of ancient Egypt to the rocky outcrops of Utah, USA, the Sego Canyon petroglyphs present a fascinating contrast. Here, the ancient art isn't tucked inside a tomb, but sprawled across canyon walls, free for all to see. Created by the archaic Fremont and Ute peoples, these petroglyphs are like an open book to the past, offering a peek into the lives of early indigenous cultures. Take the Barrier Canyon-style pictographs, for instance. Dating back around 4,000 years, these figures are sort of eerie, ghost-like shapes with no arms or legs, and sometimes sporting snazzy patterns or headdresses. You gotta wonder, were ancient artists into abstract art, or was this their version of a portrait? Meanwhile, between AD 600 and 1250, the Fremont culture added their own flair with drawings of trapezoidal humans and animals like bighorn sheep, clearly a group that appreciated good geometric shapes and local wildlife. And then there are the contributions from the Ute people, dating from about AD 1300 onwards. Their carvings show horses and riders, which really spice up the narrative by documenting a pivotal moment when horses, introduced by Europeans, changed the game for indigenous cultures in North America. The beauty of the Sego Canyon petroglyphs isn't just in their artistry, but in what they represent, a continuous thread of cultural expression spanning millennia. It's like a visual storybook of spiritual beliefs, daily life, and interactions with the environment. With so many different styles piled onto one location, researchers get the rare chance to see how rock art evolved and how cultural transitions unfolded over time. Today, the Bureau of Land Management manages the site. They've established the Sego Canyon Rock Art Interpretive Site to help regular folks understand and appreciate this significant slice of ancient Americana. Now, while Sego Canyon's rock resumes are self-advertised through their enduring presence halfway across the world in Chhattisgarh, India, it took a bit more than local knowledge to bring their rock art into the limelight. In 1910, tucked away in the dense forests, C.W. Anderson, a British officer with a knack for archaeology, stumbled upon the rock paintings of Singapore. These were detailed, expressive works of art, hunting scenes, dancing figures, and animals like deer, bulls, and elephants, all painted across the walls of rock shelters like ancient open-air museums. And get this, they might be as old as 8,000 to 10,000 years, dating all the way back to the Mesolithic period. Now, Anderson didn't have high-tech gadgets or carbon dating tools to back up his timeline. He had to rely on the style of the paintings. And let's be honest, the style was unmistakably prehistoric, but surprisingly refined. These weren't random sketches. They told stories of survival, celebrations, spiritual beliefs, and a deep, almost poetic connection to nature. But Anderson wasn't the only one enchanted by the mystery. Fast forward a few decades, and researchers like Amarnath Dutta and P. Loken Prasad Pandey jumped in, driven by curiosity and maybe a bit of envy too. They explored deeper and wider across Chhattisgarh, and over 100 rock art sites had been identified by the time they were done. Each one added new pieces to the puzzle of prehistoric life in central India. And just when you think the story can't get any more fascinating, here comes Charama in Kanker district. Archaeologist J.R. Bhagat made a discovery that had everyone talking. Paintings that, to some, looked like beings with helmets and gear standing near saucer-shaped objects. Yep, that sparked the aliens conversation real fast. While scientists are still scratching their heads over those particular figures, the fact that these interpretations even exist adds another layer of curiosity to the whole thing. Speaking of uncovering secrets from the past, let's swing over to Pompeii, where the frescoes hidden beneath volcanic ash lay dormant until rediscovered, providing a vivid snapshot of the opulent life in ancient Rome. In 1599, architect Domenico Fontana stumbled on some of these frescoes while working on an underground channel to divert the Sarno River. Sounds like your typical plumbing job, until you realize he found walls covered in ancient Roman art. But instead of calling for historians, he reportedly covered it all back up, maybe because some of the artwork wasn't exactly rated PG. Let's just say the Romans were expressive. It wasn't until 1748 that digging began in earnest. This time, Spanish military engineer Roque Joaquin de Alcubierre was in charge. He wasn't exactly gentle, think treasure hunter more than a careful archaeologist, but his team uncovered vibrant murals in homes and public spaces. Funded by King Charles III of Spain, they were mostly after shiny things, not historical context. Still, they managed to give the world an eye-opening look at what Roman walls once looked like. One of the biggest aha moments came in 1763, when an inscription was found confirming that the city was, in fact, Pompeii. That's when things got real. Scholars and tourists alike became fascinated with the place, not just for its tragic story, but also for how much of daily Roman life was preserved on its walls. From mythological scenes to cozy domestic life, the frescoes offer a window into a society that loves storytelling, color, and a little drama. Take the Dionysian ritual paintings, for example. These weren't just pretty wall art. They told you what the family valued, who they worshipped, and how they partied. And even today, Pompeii keeps surprising us. In 2024, archaeologists uncovered a banquet hall, and guess what was on the walls? Scenes from the Trojan War dinner conversation needed that extra flair. While Pompeii's frescoes tell us the gossip on Roman deities and decor, the ancestral Puebloan petroglyphs of the southwestern United States offer their own stories etched in stone. Imagine rock faces in places like Chaco Canyon and Mesa Verde, scribbled with symbols that have stood the test of time, whispering of their creator's spirituality, communication methods, and artistic expression. Let's rewind to the 1800s, when these etchings went from being local legends to subjects of scientific scribbles. It all kicked off with Jose Antonio Vizcarra, a New Mexican governor who stumbled upon these wonders during an 1823 expedition. There he was, in the depths of Chaco Canyon, eyes wide open at the sight of ruins and rock art that whispered of centuries past. Fast forward to the tail end of that century, and enter Richard Wetherill, a rancher with an archaeologist's heart. After poking around the cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde in Colorado, Wetherill couldn't shake off the dust of curiosity. By 1896, he teamed up with George H. Pepper from the American Museum of Natural History for the Hyde Exploring Expedition, funded by the deep pockets of the Hyde family. Their playground, none other than Chaco Canyon's Pueblo Bonito, where they dug into its secrets, one artifact at a time. While their eyes were set on architectural feats, they couldn't ignore the petroglyphs that practically screamed for attention on the canyon walls. Now, these aren't just any scribbles. The petroglyphs of the ancestral Puebloans are steeped in celestial sophistication. Many of these ancient artworks double as astronomical tools, aligning perfectly with the sun's solstices and equinoxes. It's like having an ancient almanac etched in stone, revealing not just artistic flair, but a deep understanding of the cosmos that guided planting seasons seasons and ceremonial timings. This blend of art and science showcased by the petroglyphs highlights an intricate understanding of the world, serving as a testament to the advanced cultural and scientific practices of the ancestral Puebloans. Now, let's jump continents to the Tassili Najer Plateau in southeastern Algeria, where a treasure trove of prehistoric cave paintings awaited discovery in the mid-20th century. This fascinating discovery painted a vivid picture, literally, of early human life in the Sahara. Thanks to a slew of intrepid explorers, including one very dedicated French archaeologist, Henri Lot, it became a pivotal chapter in archaeological lore. Rewind to the 1930s, and you'll find Lieutenant Charles Brennans, a French military officer with a keen eye, roaming the Algerian landscapes. Between 1933 and 1938, Brennans stumbled upon a gold mine of rock art in the Oued Jarrett region, documenting over 1,000 engravings and paintings that showcased elephants, giraffes, and rhinoceroses. These weren't just casual doodles. They depicted a Sahara teeming with life, a stark contrast to its present arid state. However, Brennan's findings didn't exactly make headlines at the time. Enter Henri Lot, born in 1903 and buzzing with a passion for Saharan cultures and prehistoric art. Under the guidance of Abbé Breuil, a giant in the field of prehistory, Lot was primed for greatness. Fast forward to 1956, and inspired by Brennan's groundwork, Lot, backed by the Musée de l'Homme in Paris, spearheaded an expedition that would make history. Along with a crew of artists, photographers, and local Tuareg guides led by Jabreen Ag Mohammed Machar, Lotte spent 16 months meticulously documenting the plateau's rock art. Lotte's team brought approximately 800 paintings and engravings to light, unearthing scenes of hunting, dancing, and ceremonial rituals that spanned over 10,000 years. Among these was the Great Martian God, an otherworldly figure that seemed to jump right out of a sci-fi novel. It earned its name for its bizarre, round features. The discovery of these paintings was a game changer. They didn't just capture moments in time, they illustrated a lush, vibrant Sahara, offering a window into the lives of its ancient inhabitants and their understanding of the world around them. These artistic marvels weren't just beautiful, they were historical documents that charted the evolution of early symbolic thought and human expression. Lotte went public with his findings, wowing crowds and academics alike at exhibitions in Paris during 1957 and 1958. His book, À la découverte des fresques du Tassili, published in 1958, detailed their adventures and interpretations, catapulting the Tassili Najer cave paintings into the international spotlight. Yet, not everyone was sold on Lotte's theories, especially his far-out suggestion of extraterrestrial influences, which, let's be honest, did raise a few academic eyebrows. Despite the controversies and subsequent critiques that pointed out potential damage during documentation, Lotte's impact is undeniable. His expeditions helped peel back the curtain on a hidden chapter of human history, securing the Tassili Najer cave paintings a spot on the world stage of significant archaeological discoveries. There you have it. What do you think these ancient artworks are really telling us? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And while you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe. This channel is all about uncovering the most mind-blowing discoveries from history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.